Hey everybody, so I'm back today with an unboxing, and as you can see I've already unboxed it because I don't know, I just didn't really feel like opening something to have it damaged and then discover that on video. Although sometimes that's fun, I guess, I don't know. But I wanted to have a little bit of a chat and unboxing, and there'll be just a minor spoiler. If you guys haven't read Talent of Horus, I'll try to keep it fairly generic, but if you're like absolutely adamant about not hearing anything about it, the story, then you might want to skip forward a bit in the video. But basically, you know, I'd had this discussion recently about narrative campaigns and Kill Team. So some of you might have saw my Chaos Sorcerer that I did for the October, what was it, Spooky Oktoberfest. And I mentioned that I might be getting friends for him and this and that, and I'm primarily concentrating on my Imperial army for the next 6 months, but I've already, as you know, with that miniature, and I've already taken an interest in, you know, painting and collecting some Chaos models as well. And the fact that I'm getting into Kill Team is great because I can actually play small amounts of models, you know, and still paint them and still play and use them. But where I'm going with this is I've been reading a lot of I guess some of the more evil books, or the Horus Heresy books that are about the traitors, you know, where you have the traitor Primarchs. And so, you know, I'm in the middle right now, or I'm actually not in the middle, I'm just about finished with not Betrayer, but the Last Heretic. And prior to that, I just finished Talent of Horus. Now, one of the things that was kind of interesting is, and this is kind of mirrors a little bit in the way 40k has gone, I think, in the last bit, is normally when you think of Chaos, you think of a Nurgle army or a Khorne army, you know, or an Emperor's Children army, and, you know, like you see, and nothing wrong with that, you see armies that are decked out all with Nurgle, you know, and you see, and so just massive green and decay and things like that. You know, Black Legion, I guess, has been around for a very long time, and people have emulated that, where you have different things, but it's more typical in my mind to see a bit more unity, you know, around a particular god or something like that, themed armies. What I think there's a number of reasons why I'm not as interested in that. From a modeling perspective, I don't like all the models for every army. I also don't always like just one uniform army, you know, just one color, or, you know, just, and so that's just my personal taste. And so I've wanted for a while now to see how I could incorporate different things, and because of 40k is going that route, where, you know, with Unbound armies and various allies and all this stuff, you can pretty much do whatever you want. And even within a Chaos army, you could, you know, theoretically, or very practically, you know, just have different kinds of Chaos units in the same army. And so that's kind of the route that I've been going. When reading Talent of Horus, there's a character that they really build up in the book, and I'm being kind of generic in my describing here, just because you should go out and you should read it if you're interested at all. And it's a sorcerer, and at one point, it happens to be that the sorcerer is definitely not like a Khorne sorcerer, and I don't think they typically even take, you know, sorcerer's Khorne. But basically, you know, he flips his tarot card out, and then in the end, you know, this what I think is really described as a bloodthirster. Maybe I'll have to go back and read it again, but the description really seems to paint a bloodthirster for me. Appears that he has sort of bound to him, you know, so he can summon him when he needs to. And so that was kind of interesting in the story, because you had a sorcerer that was definitely not a Khornate sorcerer, yet he had like this bloodthirster type demon bound to him. Now the scenes were amazing, like, you know, that they had written in the story as to what happened, you know, with this bloodthirster type demon. But it had me just, you know, when I read these books, I start looking at models and I want to paint. But then also I wanted to build on my Chaos a bit, and so I have that Chaos Sorcerer, and I wanted to get a greater demon, and I was inspired by the book, and so I was looking around, and there was a model that was a non-GW model that I'd seen a while ago, and I never knew quite where it came from, but it looked so cool, and I just thought I really, would like to get that, and so I ended up picking it up, and it's nothing new, like it's not a new model. I think it's been around since 2008, but it's the Ultra Forge Greater Demon, and so it's, in my mind, it's like a Bloodthirster, basically. I'll show a picture of the model completed, but I just picked this out of the box. But basically, it stands about, this high, and so, but it's actually kind of kneeling, as you can see. And so it's got one knee on the ground. The face, I found the quality of the sculpt was just really nice. This reminded me, I don't know if it's the same casting house, but this kind of plastic resin that's used here reminds me very much of the Collector's Series Purple Worm, which is also a gray plastic and was very similar to this. Extremely similar. And I have no knowledge of the casting house and any of that, that was used or how it was done, but it was just eerily similar to the one that I worked with there. But there's a lot of texture in the actual skin and things, which is really cool. Huge kneecaps with skulls. There's a little bit of flashing, but really not much. The biggest amount of flashing is there's one sprue here, and this is the head, which I think just looks amazing. Like, it's just like got this primal scream, and the detail on the face and the features are very fine. It just really looks good. I don't think it looks goofy at all, and that's kind of one of the things that's kind of like, sometimes these things just need to pass the goofy test when it's complete fantasy, and I think it looks really good. It's very sinister looking. I did read some, I'll show you the model and the way it's supposed to look in the end, because of those of you that aren't familiar with it, this is just a photocopy of it, and so it's sort of, I think a Space Marine would probably come up to about that high, so he's sort of kneeling down. He's got this really wicked butcher blade on him, which is really cool. And so the only negative criticism that I can understand some people feeling this way, but the only negative criticism I can see is that some people have felt that the wings are really not big enough for this size monster. Like basically those are the wings, and so I think they look fine. I can see people saying that, and I do know the sculptor that sculpted for Ultra Forge is actually doing another Kickstarter right now, and he has a Greater Demon that's different than this one, but of maybe the same genre, like a war demon, and the wings are like twice the size. So I thought that was interesting, because I did see that sort of commentary, but then the new one has got like huge wings. But I just think this one looks amazing. Just the intensity of the face, like kind of looking down. I just think it looks great. And so I noticed that there's, even though I haven't played it yet, I haven't really played 7th other than Kill Team. I noticed that there's, the summoning and the summoning of daemons, and then you can summon a greater demon. And so it'll be interesting, to see. Maybe I'll use this in the future. But I would say a lot of this stuff is primarily a painting project with just being able to do some small games for fun. And I'm looking to do a little bit of a Chaos Army over the next year, just here and there, adding bits and pieces. And I think this one's going to be a really cool addition. And it'll be a really nice model on my shelf as well. The thing, to just elaborate a bit more on the theory piece again in the chat of this video, the more I read the books and get into the stories, the more I appreciate how some of the authors, and Aaron Dembski-Bodum, I think, is really good at this. They provide a depth to chaos in the characters that goes way beyond just monochromatic armies that just follow Nurgle, you know. And so when you have like any kind of sorcerer summoning a demon, regardless of what kind of god that demon's affiliated with, there's an agenda that that demon has and that sorcerer has that actually is distinct in some ways from that bigger sort of alliance. And so, you know, this is all fiction, obviously. So when I say that, I mean, like, this is just the way I imagine it. And what I like about the depth of these stories is that, you know, like, it brings out the character more when you actually have these sort of alliances that are happening across party lines, have you say. And so, yeah, like, I'm kind of glad that the game can support that. Like, you're not extremely limited in how you can take these models, and I'm kind of glad that in the future, like when I'm, you know, painting up this army, I can add guys like this, and with my sorcerer, and just I've got other things in mind to make a flavorful kind of list that will, you know, perhaps have kind of a bit of a story behind it as well. So, yeah. So, I hope you guys like this, and like I said, I know this isn't completely new news. Maybe some of you haven't seen this. I know I had to look for it. I came across a video once with it in it on YouTube, but it wasn't explicit as where it came from, and so I really had to look for this to find it. But really, really cool, and actually really affordable too. I don't know, like, and this is all in Canadian dollars and things, but I'm thinking I probably saved, you know, well over $300 to get this guy rather than go the Forge World route, which they're not necessarily completely comparable. I think the Forge World one probably stands, well, he's standing up, and so is at least a good 3 or 4 inches taller, and but as he's standing. But I really like this guy. I think he's really good, and I think it was a really good purchase. So, all right. Interested what your guys' thoughts are in either the model or, you know, the discussion, and I hope you guys are having a good one. Take care.